am Shonette, and the thing about me is that I am one of those highly motivated types of people, really. And the thing about me is I'm like an irritating person to work with because I'm always like, and I'm kind of like, are you working with somebody like that? You know, you're going in on a morning and like the student said she's not a morning person, I'm totally a morning person. I'm like, la la la. We have to get up at 4:30. I love 4:30. And everybody's like, that really, Shonette. But the thing about me is I have a lot of challenges in my life. Does anybody have a lot of challenges? Anybody got a job? You know it's like a challenge. You work for the NHS. I mean, I watch the news. I work in education. That's where I originate from. And the thing is about our kind of nature, social care, the NHS, education, we're beaten with a stick on a regular basis. You don't ever hear the government coming out and saying, I love the NHS, I love what they do. You don't hear it about teachers, do you, very often? Just like they get loads of holidays. I know you're thinking it right now. But welcome to me, because I am the Mary Poppins of motivation. That's what I am known as. And the thing is about motivation is, on a daily basis, it's really, really difficult to maintain motivation, isn't it? And, you know, there's times in your life, I don't know about you, but before I go to work, I've got 4 teenagers living in my house. They're 15, 14, 13, 12, and they're all mine. What was that? I know people are looking at each other like, she is insane, you're right. And the thing is about them, they're challenging themselves, aren't they? You know, it's that thing that I can get up on a morning and I can be highly motivated, and then we take the ticket of the mood lottery. Down it comes on the floor. The 15-year-old at the minute looks like Zelda, Queen of Darkness. If she comes skipping down the stairs, you feel like you've won the lottery. You're like, woo! So for me, motivation is it's okay to say, let's think positive. I loved it when the lady said before about, can you email those people you're networking with tonight? Find out how many people are under the table. Where are you? Where are you going? I've got about 9 days to find out where you're going. I was panicking for you. Where are we going? Who are you? Have you got a new name? Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? We've just got to think positive. You know, everybody here hasn't sat out there, have you, and looked at the budget because you're just thinking positive. So for me, on a daily basis, you've got to try and think positively, but it's not so easy, is it? And for you, you haven't got a job where you can take your mood to work. Does anybody ever say that to people? Leave your mood on the step, come in, different. It's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult if your teenager announces that she's going to live with her father. Ooh, that's a bit of a tricky one to carry with you, isn't it? We'll talk about that later. So, for me, I like to get people to think back, and it was beautiful, your picture of you. I bet you loved those shoes. You said they were horrid, but I bet they were lovely. I would love them. Now, when you were 5, did you dream about doing the job you're doing today? No. When you were 5, did you think, I want to be an end-of-life facilitator? What did you dream of? Shout out to me. What did you dream of? Nurse. Yeah, well. No, but no. Anybody dream of something like a ballerina? You know? A what? Oh, trumpetist, like with feet. Be careful. She is on. Be careful. Who's got the 4 Twitter accounts? if you tweet anything about feet on Twitter, if I ever put my shoe, I often tweet what shoes I'm wearing because I have a full range. And people tweet funny things about feet. That's what I find about social media. Do you find that with your 4 accounts? Yeah. You put an innocent tweet out and all of a sudden you have offers of people wanting to sniff your feet, which I find a bit disgusting. I'm sorry. Let's go back to when we were 5. Who had Twitter when they were 5? No. Now 5-year-olds are tweeting, Facebooking the teacher, I won't be in today. I've got to play some Angry Birds, you know, things like that. So the thing is, when you were 5, you perhaps didn't dream about it, about what you're doing right now, but I've seen a lot of love today for what you actually do. And I think you have to have that because you're a caring profession. And like Tony said, I love that. You can't buy that. You can be paid to do a job, but you can't buy the qualities that all the people in this room have. And isn't it, I would love us all to have a little bottle of what that spirit is and hand it out, especially around that London. Because, you know, they're not really fully spirited in the caring department, are they, you know? We were carrying our bags. You need to come up north, honestly. They love you. They have bottles and bottles. So for me, when I was 5, I wanted to be Mrs. Walton. That's what I wanted to be. She never washed up, Mrs. Walton, did she? You never saw her in the sink with all the pots of a big family. I think what I wanted was the love and laughter that the Waltons had. They had such a sense of fun, didn't they? And they were always happy. And what about that bedtime scene? Good night, Ma. Good night, John boy. Good night, Pa. You know, Mary Ellen. You have to do it like that. Good night. And then they blew out all the candles. There was no global warming there, was there? You know, you weren't worried. Anybody running round the house on a regular basis shouting, "What is this, black poo?" Does anybody started now to say things that their mum said? Do you know what I mean? And it comes out your mouth faster than a train, and then you think to yourself, oh, check that out, you know. So realistically, for me, I did all the right things from 5. I went to sixth form college, and I went to A-levels, and I went to university, and I became a teacher, and I got married, and I ended up with the Waltons. Yeah, you say that now, but if you saw them, you might not particularly say that about them at times. Because, you know, when they're little, they're quite cute, aren't they? Like the Evian babies. But as they're growing up, it gets a little bit tricky, doesn't it? A little bit tricky. And the thing is, at 30 years old, I had 4 children. And I woke up one day and I realised that the man lying next to me wasn't David Beckham, but he was actually my practice husband. Anybody woke up with a practice husband? Or wife, you can have a practice wife as well. And that very day, which perhaps wasn't the good day to leave him, which I'll give you a top tip because it's coming up, April the 1st. Don't leave your partner on April the 1st. They think it's a joke till lunchtime, which is a little bit tricky, isn't it? So we actually lived in Cyprus at the time, and I had to fly back from Cyprus with the 4 children. And when I landed in the UK, I realised that all of a sudden my life had changed forever. And so for me, it was a massive life-changing moment. Now, you don't have to get divorced. I'm not saying that, extreme. Come and talk to me if you need advice. But what I am saying is, we have change happens, doesn't it, in our lives? And it's very difficult at times when you're pushing 4 children and 6 suitcases through the airport, thinking to yourself, be positive. Be positive. And hoping he isn't on the next flight after you. So, for me, it's a tricky time, but I am like the butterfly. I am a natural evolver of change. At that point, I got in my cocoon and wrapped myself right up. And then eventually, after a while, I broke right out and my wings started to fly again. Hooray! You're all shouting. And eventually, I met the Geordie Prince. And now I am married to the Geordie Prince. Yay! I haven't woke up yet to think about him being practice number 2, because you know what they say, practice makes perfect. So how about you? How about you on your motivation? I'm like Eleanor said, I can see opportunities all over. And so for me, it's an easy process, but it's not always easy for the people that we are working with to see those opportunities. The daily grind, the getting up, the going, the lack of money for your job, the bigger the electricity bill. Am I depressing you? The gas. Who is open? Who is moving where they're not going to up the council tax? I am. My house is on the market already. So what you're doing is society and life brings us down. Would you agree? Crash. Now, I work with very little children. I work in the 0 to 5 age range, and that's a fantastic age range to work in. Now, for me, I've never really thought of end of life because I'm the start of their life, and it's very similar. We have a personalised care programme for them, and we nurture them, and we look at their needs, and we actually help them to learn and to develop. And I love that one-page profile. I absolutely love that, because that's what we create. We find out, we discover what young children need and what they want. And you're doing exactly the same, just at a different part of life. And how important is that? I am going home to talk to my children about the glass carriage with the fumes coming out of the horses. And I know that my mum hates those bouquets, you know, that they have where they say mum, nan, I want the full works. I want Shonette, everything on mine. They're best start saving now, aren't they, really? So for me, I create butterflies. But when I grew up and I was in adult life, you know that life, what you have, I realised that on a daily basis, not everybody has the natural motivation. And we read books. How many people here have ever read a self-help book? Even Carl round the corner is reading about the 4-hour chef. Over there, he's read the 4-hour body, and now he's on the 4-hour chef round there. Well, I fancied a 4-hour body. Anybody else fancy that? I thought, 4 hours, what do you do? Like, get a meat slicer off there? I don't know. So, I've ordered it, Carl. Don't worry, so I can find out. So for me, my motivation comes from Mary Poppins, and it's about kite flying, because ultimately everybody in this room is flying their kite. And we've talked so much today about personalising the journey of the patients that you are with. But I think, what about you? What about your kite? How are you going to go to infinity and beyond from this moment if you haven't got something that you can take away, and that you can motivate yourself with daily without having to have the amount of coffee that Emma was drinking? I do worry about that, do you? I think she maybe needs to go for a decaf latte or something like that now. So for me, the thing about kite is that actually it's quite tricky in the sense of we all have a past. Does anybody have a past here? We all have a past. And actually, when you die, you're right, it doesn't mean anything anymore. But how much does it affect the living? How much does the past affect the living, would you say? You know, when people want to make peace, when things like that, it's usually from something from their past. And we let it drag us down a lot, would you agree? That practice husband could drag me down. But I'm not going to let him, because do you know where I'm going to put him? On the tail of my kite.